So we've been talking about financing. One resource that we have locally is Shorebank Pacific, which is a bank that uses sustainability criteria to filter their loan applications. One organization that they helped get off the ground actually was Flexcar, which is that car sharing program. They've gotten national recognition, so much so they actually got bought out recently by Zipcar on the East Coast. So let's learn more about Shorebank and the other organizations that they've been able to help.
Well, we're here today with David Williams from Shorebank, and we're going to be getting in a Flexcar, which is one of the companies that Shorebank has funded. Tell me about the mission and the purpose of Shorebank.
Our mission is working through businesses to build sustainable communities, and sustainability being defined the triple bottom line: social focus, environmental focus, and community focus.
What is your criteria for a business to be sustainable?
We measure folks as to where they are relative to where the general population is and where a perfectly sustainable business would be. And those measures are, in the environmental arena, it's usage of materials and energy and water and the like. In the social element is, how are you treating your employees, and what are the wealth generation opportunities not only for the business owner but for the employees of the business owner. And then how is that wealth that's generated recirculated within the community rather than being extracted. It is important to us that you're not owned by some business from outside the region. The ownership is local and the money gets recirculated locally. And then in the community, how are you in the business interacting with the community in building additional businesses, enhancing other businesses, helping them out so that you build a stronger array of businesses within the community. Flexcar got started here in Portland as car share.
They had a few cars on the street and they needed to need to put more cars on the road, and borrowed from us to do that. And that was really early in the game. And our analysis was that we were dealing with cars, so that we had collateral behind that, and the question was, could they generate the revenue? And we were attracted to the notion of reducing the number of cars on the road. We were attracted from an environmental perspective, and we were attracted from a community perspective of get cars off the road. You can't get there from here. The keys that made this work were that you had a standard product, the car, for which we know there's a market. There's all these different levels of capital. And where a commercial bank plays is almost at the last layer of capital. Because banks operate on such a thin margin, they can't afford to have not get their capital returned back to them. And so they need a number of different layers of assurance that they're going to get their money back. People ask you, do you only lend to sustainable businesses? No, we'll lend to anybody who says they want to be sustainable. But then we test that pretty promptly with our whole system evaluating them. And it involves some long conversations about their objectives and where they're trying to go and what they're trying to do. And out of that you can tell that whether or not they're serious about it or they're just using it for temporary marketing positioning.
We're in all of the ethanol plants in Oregon and Washington. The issue with ethanol is it gives us some independence from petroleum-based fuels, but the output of the ethanol is not only ethanol plants, but it's food for dairy farms. And so you need access to the farm community to really make the thing work. We'll be out to see the ethanol plant in Clatskanie, where they're on the river and they can transport that to dairy farms. There's another ethanol plant up in Boardman, which is designed to provide fuel into 3 Mile Island, which is Tillamook Creamery's big source of milk for their cheese plants.
We're here with Chuck Carlson at the Cascade Grain Products ethanol plant today. So are you going to give us a tour?
Yes, today we'll see how we're coming on the construction. Behind us here are the distiller dry grain dryers and the regenerative thermal oxidizers. And the dryers, of course, take one of our byproducts, distiller dry grains, dry it so we can ship it off for dairy feed and for export.
Explain why ethanol works. I mean, there's all this argument about the fact that you put more energy into growing the corn and getting it here than you get fuel out of it.
Nowadays, a plant like this will produce 170% efficiency, basically, so it'll produce more than 70% more energy than what you're putting into it.
And what does that assume about the amount of energy that goes, energy, fertilizer, and the sort that goes into growing the
Right, that takes into account all the fertilizer that's used, the anhydrous ammonia that's used for that fertilizer, all the cultivating of it, all the planting of the crop, shipping the crop to the product, or shipping our product out. So it is what they call life cycle for the process.
Well, thank you, Chuck, for showing us around the ethanol plants.
Hope you enjoyed the visit.
And thank you, Dave, for showing us about financing with Shorebank.
It's been our pleasure.
I'm Jill, bringing you the tools to be more sustainable today.